like to know your point of view.
Hi everyone, it's Evening Ransom, and I'm reaching you today from Ajijic, Mexico, at Lake Chapala. It's Mexico's largest lake. Mother's Day actually it was started in America. It was an American holiday. It was started by Anna Jarvis in 1905. So in 1905, in West Virginia, her state where she was from, adopted it as a state holiday in 1910. And then in 1914, Woodrow Wilson declared it a national holiday. And then in 1922, Mexico adopted it because their president holiday, after reading a report written by journalist Raphael Boussier. He wrote a story about the celebration of Mother's Day in the United States. And so they declared Mother's Day is May 10th in Mexico. Actually, Mother's Day didn't go over really that well in Mexico at first because it became this holiday where it was just more demands on the mother. Women were like expected to do all this extra cooking and stuff, so that didn't go over very well. So in the 40s in Mexico, they started traditions like stores would let mothers in and they would be able to get a free gift in the stores. And then Hallmark cards started, and it started kind of getting to be a real capitalist holiday. And Anna Jarvis actually got arrested for disturbing the peace when she interfered with the capitalist, something to do with capitalist fundraisers, something for Mother's Day. And she thought that her whole idea of it got really corrupted. She wanted it to be about kids, like making homemade crafts with her mom and stuff like that. She didn't expect for like consumerism to become a part of it. And so she got really kind of turned off, and she was totally against what Mother's Day ended up being, even though she started it. So I think that was really kind of interesting. But so anyway, so this is a different kind of Mother's Day for me because, well, not only am I estranged from my mother, which is tough, and not only is it the second Mother's Day since my son died, which is also really tough, and he's been on my mind just all the time since I've been here in Mexico because just I think about him. I think about how much he'd like this town we're in. And, I was just I was thinking about my kids, and I think about the people I love and how they'd like it here. And, because, we're choosing a place with everyone in mind, so I'm not just taking off to anywhere. I'm taking off to somewhere with our family in mind, with people we love in mind. And so, the spirit of my son is just really right there with me. And then it's the first time that I haven't been with either of my children because I'm here, and my younger son is not here. He's back at home. So it's kind of strange. It's the first time on Mother's Day I haven't been with either of my children. And we're also not with my beloved mother-in-law. So it's kind of a little bit strange. But one of the upsides to why I really like Mexico is because the culture is so about family, and I'm all about expanding my definition of family and looking for, an extended family that I can build with people that are not my blood relatives. And this is a warm, engaging culture that's open to that. So my 3 tips for getting through Mother's Day this year when you are, estranged from your mother, or your mother has died, or your relationship with your mother wasn't that great, or you aren't talking to her, and maybe even there's a strain on your relationship with your kids, or something, is first, have compassion for your mother and for yourself. If you were raised, if you have a relationship with your mother that's strained and you've had to make the choice to not be around her because it's toxic and abusive and it's damaging to you, just, have compassion for yourself, your little girl that's inside of you, your little boy that's inside of you, and how tough that was. You had to have a relationship with a mother who was not emotionally available to you. And then also compassion for her because nobody sets out nobody has a little baby and sets out to have that happen. So, this isn't ideal for her either. Something went wrong. And so just to have compassion for that, because we don't know exactly what. Think about all that you gained. Think about all that you gained. If your mother wasn't right there, you had to be there for yourself in some ways. You had to learn to be resilient. You had to be resourceful. You had to gain some wisdom. You had to grow up. You had, you gained some skills because of it. It's not ideal. It isn't ideal. I'm not trying to say it's ideal. And a lot of times I really do look at people who have these loving relationships with their parents, these really healthy relationships with their parents, and it feels like, God, they had such a head start, because those of us who didn't, we spend quite a lot of time working on damage that was done and that they don't have to spend. But really, when you look at it, people that really go on to accomplish some really amazing things, they just didn't have a really easy time of it usually. There's things that they had to overcome, and so you are gaining something. There's always something to be gained. There's always an upside to it. So look for those. Always really important to look for those. And also, at the same time, look for the things that she did do right, because nobody did everything wrong. Nobody did every single thing wrong. In my case, my mother was consistent, and she was reliable, and she was responsible. She was responsible, financially responsible. She was, she and my father stayed together. I had, I didn't have to get jerked around, moved around a bunch of houses and schools. She wasn't, didn't have me around a bunch of flaky guys, and she wasn't on drugs. None of that. I didn't have any of that to deal with. I had a mother who was, I always knew where she was. She was at work or she was at home. She provided me with everything that I needed, materially, financially, through college. And she made a big deal about events and, celebratory times in my life, like birthdays and graduations and things like that, so, and that's worth something. Work hard. She had a really good work ethic. My mother had a really good work ethic, and she taught me that, she taught me that. So some of the illusion that they were letting on, some of the things that they wanted to be true, that message stuck, even if it wasn't real for them. Some of the messages that they were setting out, the values that they were laying down, even though it wasn't necessarily authentic and true for them, it was for me. And so I thought they were all about family, and family was really important to me, and so that stuck for me. So the things, I ended up having this work ethic. I ended up being really loyal and having a lot of integrity and all this kind of stuff. And I believe that was them too, and only found out, as an adult in my 30s when I got really sick, that it wasn't. And, honestly, because my parents, my mother wasn't like a super nurturing person, I was, not only was I a tough person, I was really a strong person. I became really self-reliant. And also, the third part is that it got me to think about it as a communal act. So I didn't just go to my mother. I was open, and honestly, she was fine. She wasn't possessive of me. You know what I mean? So she was fine with my getting my emotional needs met by my grandmothers or my friends' mothers or my boyfriend's mothers or the neighbors or wherever I could get it. She was fine with that. And so, there is that. She wasn't emotionally available to me, but she didn't try and keep me from getting my needs met somewhere else either. Because I have seen plenty of examples where mothers that are abusive also are possessive, and my mother wasn't that. So, I was completely free to go get my needs met by other people, and I did, and I ended up growing up into a compassionate person who didn't have her narcissism, because of that, because I had lots of time with other women, other other women her age and older, a generation or two generations older that basically communally raised me. And that's part of the thing here too in Mexico that I think is really great. It is a lot. It is a lot the way that we do things in America. Is that we're also and narcissists do this to themselves to some degree too. Is that we have our there's secrets behind closed doors and all that. But it's also a lot of burden, a lot of responsibility. If you're a person who for better or for worse, she made decisions to have children really young. She shouldn't have had children, but she did. And then also she was someone who had to think she had to act like she had it all wired, so she couldn't ask for help, and she couldn't, so she, in a way, she was stuck. She was stuck, with this big burden of something she didn't want to be doing. And, it isn't like that in other cultures. I needed to go get my mind. Think about all the relationships with children or younger people as a mother, as a mothering influence, because you don't have any idea how much impact you might be having on someone. I'm sure that a lot of people in my past have no idea how big an impact they had on me, because they probably didn't know what was missing. They probably didn't know how much I was missing, how much I was needing, whatever it was that I was getting from them. And, but people really affected me in a profound and important way. And so it's really important when you have an opportunity to be a loving influence to a child who maybe isn't even your own. I hope to really play a role in some younger people's lives. I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know how, but I'm really open to a different definition of family. And one of my draws to Mexico is that it is such an open culture with such a strong family value. They value family so much, and they're warm and accepting, much more accepting than we are of them. That's the other thing too, is that they're just very warm. And and I don't speak Spanish, and I really want to really work on that, really work on speaking Spanish, because I really want to be part of the culture here and part of what's going on. And this place here, it's an expat community, and so it would be possible to get by without knowing Spanish, and I don't want to do that. I really want to try and respect them and be part of their culture. And there are a lot of culture is reflected in language too, and so I'm excited about that. It's a different a whole different adventure that I'm going to be going on. I'm looking forward to doing things differently. And so, anyway, so the three ways to get through, the 3 ways to get through this Mother's Day is, have some compassion for yourself, for your friend, for your mom. Think about what you gained. Always think about what you gained. There's always a silver lining. Always. And then, take the burden off of her for doing everything that you needed, and also off of yourself. Because, if you made mistakes and who didn't, and especially if you were raised by someone who didn't have it wired and left you with scars and stuff before you even knew it, and then you're having children, you made mistakes. I know I did. I didn't know how to protect myself. I didn't know how to protect my children. And as a result, I am not sitting here today with my 2 well-adjusted, happy sons. I lost a son, and the other one has a lot of healing to do. And, I wish that it had been different. I really wish that it could have been different. But I don't have any question about why my son is gone. It wasn't some fluke. It wasn't some mistake. It wasn't some mystery. It wasn't just drugs. It wasn't that at all. He could deal with the drugs. He put the drugs down many times. The problem that happened to him came about because many years earlier than that, he had really damaged parents. He had one parent that lacked empathy, that was cruel and abusive, and he had another one that didn't know how to protect herself, didn't have boundaries, and didn't know how to define abuse, and was with someone who was not only unloving to her, but abusive to her and to her kids, and also in a whole community of people that were the same way. So there just wasn't enough love around us. Just wasn't enough love around us, and I didn't know any better. And I didn't protect my. I had such a high tolerance for pain and abuse that I just didn't protect this, and I have to forgive myself for that because I wanted children so bad, and I loved my kids so much. There was nothing I wouldn't have done for them. So I did do everything I knew to do. Everything I did exactly what I thought was the best thing, always. But it wasn't always right. It wasn't always right. And I have to forgive myself for that. And, you know, I don't blame myself. I have compassion for myself because I did the very best that I could in a bad situation. To yourself today, it's if you have a mother that hurts you when you're together, that it makes it impossible for you to heal the wounds and the scars. They just get dug deeper and deeper every time you're together and you're not with her. Good for you. You're making a stand for yourself. You're taking good care of the little child inside of you, and that's the place to start. That's where healing begins. And you are setting boundaries now. That's the thing. When you know better, you do better, and so you're doing better now. So it's always moving forward. Life only makes sense looking backwards. We have to make the choices going forward. So, good for you. You're not alone. You're in my thoughts. I love you all. But happy Mother's Day, guys. All right. Bye-bye.